Macho Doc here. Been watching a lot of wrestling videos lately about the Macho Man. I can't keep that up. Who am I fooling? Tonight, guys, I want to talk about We3, the Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely 3-issue miniseries from Vertigo, all the way back in 2004. And the story of We3 goes back to the government. I don't like to get very political on this channel, but absolute power absolutely can corrupt. I'm not going to say that it does every single time. But in this stage, you've got Bandit, who's a Labrador, you've got Tinker, who's a ginger striped cat, and you've got Pirate, who is a rabbit. And they have been put into a government installation and taught to be killers. They've been given cybernetic enhancements, big body armor, things like that. And it's really a story about playing God. It's a story about not using someone else for your own purposes, because that other person has got their own heart, their own mind, their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own empathy and sympathies. So you start out with this really amazing artwork. Let's see. Find a page that looks really good. Frank Quitely, at this point in the game, his level of detail, second to none. Absolutely one of the greatest detail-oriented artists out there. Now, I love All-Star Superman, but it's not one of my favorite artistic titles because I'm really not a huge Frank Quitely fan. But his artwork fits this 3-issue mini perfectly. I can't think of another artist that would have done it more justice than he. But like I said, you get our 3 animals here that the government has built up into weapons of mass destruction and killers that they can send out on a whim. And then just like always, you get, hang on a second. You get one of the colonels, and he says, we're decommissioning We3. She said, but these 3 have shown more progress than any of the others. This is years of my work. And he says, you know, this is crazy. What kind of lunatic would teach a killing machine to talk? So it's a case of getting your ice cream and getting the exact type of ice cream that you ask for from Baskin-Robbins, and then looking at the server and saying, what did you put in my cup? You can't have it both ways. You can't have... Humans have an innate nature to relate things that don't have... What am I trying to say? We put weight behind things that don't have weight, okay? So we fall in love with animals. We fall in love with cars. We fall in love with inanimate objects, things that we shouldn't have any kind of love for. And she's fallen in love with these 3 animals, the cat, the rabbit, and the dog. She doesn't want to see them be decommissioned because she knows what that means. It's not simply decommission, it's kill the subjects and then move on. So she sneaks in one night, goes into their pen, and lets them out. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. One way is that they are killing machines, and she has now unleashed killing machines with rudimentary speaking structure, understanding of good versus evil morality. She's unleashed this into an unsuspecting society. So all they're trying to do is find a new home. They're trying to find a place to go that they can feel wanted. Because Bandit realizes more than the other two, I believe, at this point. Because Tinker is just a stinker, is what Tinker is. Tinker is contrary just because he can be, because he's a cat. He doesn't have to have a reason. We have 4 cats in this house, and they all do whatever they want to do when they want to do it, and they don't ask questions. They don't say, hey, I'd like to puke up on your carpet tonight. How's that sound? Those words have never come out of any of the 4 cats' mouths. They just puke. Then it's up to us to clean up the mess behind. So in the second issue, they're running, and they're trying to find their new place to be. Meanwhile, everybody's scrambling, saying, we got to find these people. Or we got to find these animals. We've got to find them. We've got to shut them down. And so the dog is just looking for home. Then they get into kind of a scrap. And then all of a sudden, they see what was sent after them, and it was rats. They said, this is our last line of defense. This is the last place that we can, thing that we can send, minus the military. It's the last thing that we can send out to protect humanity from these 3 animals. And in the end, it's not as graphic as you think it is. 3 lives for the moment, but it was hit by this farmer with a shotgun. And then he was attacked by a bandit. So you get this general, I said colonel earlier, but you get this general, and he's thinking like a military man. He's clean, he's precise. He says, I would like to bring this to a very rapid conclusion. I understand that I have no choice now. You understand that? So there is a DEFCON 4 option. Number 4. Who was not quite ready for prime time, and he looks like he's dumb as a box of rocks. But they send number 4 after We3 as a last measure to try to shut them down, regain order, and protect humanity. And he is much more aggressive than they are, and he's bigger than they are. So it takes everything that they have to fight him. And then they finally bring the doctor who was trying to protect them out into the field. And Bandit says, We3 are good. Good dog. Home now. And she said, number 1, the name on your collar was Bandit. You are Bandit. And she says, run far away. And proceeds to get shot in the back. So it comes down to a fight between We3 and We4, I guess. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends. But I will tell you is something that'll put a smile on your face. It's a story about hurt. It's a story about pain. It's a story about grief. It's a story about losing control of a project that you had always lived for. It's about 3 animals who are just trying to get home. Trying to be animals again. Trying to live the simple lives that we all joke about it. You know, we got these 4 cats here, and we're like, man, it'd be so nice to just lay around, go to the bathroom, and eat, and that's it. That's all you got. Don't have to go to work. Don't have to get paid. Don't have to worry about bills. That's our responsibility, not theirs. And that's all they're trying to do, is they're trying to get home. They're trying to get home to a place where it's simpler life. And if you've never read this, if you're an animal lover, it will tear at your heartstrings. But I tell you again that it's the best ending that could be possible. So, it's one of the best miniseries I've ever read, even though it was only 3 issues. It makes sense that it was only 3 issues because We3, but at the same time, you have to, you know, I would have liked to have seen more in this universe. I would have liked to have seen where they came from. You know, so maybe call it We1 or We0. But I think Grant Morrison has moved on from superhero comics. He's ascended to another level of consciousness. To that point, I guess I should say they instead of he. So we will probably never get another miniseries like this, because Alan Moore has also stepped off this plane to write comics. Neil Gaiman is persona non grata at this moment. So, I don't know. I like to read stuff like this. I liked Warren Ellis's Ocean. They had a lot of good stuff coming out from Vertigo at that point. 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. They had some really, really great stuff. So, if you didn't have the opportunity, I picked all 3 of those books up for $5. They were all in one package. So you can find it relatively cheap. A lot cheaper than you can find Flex Mantello. But if you like animals, you should check it out. I think it'll change your world. I think you'll come to understand better about human nature, about the nature of animals in our lives, and how sometimes we exploit that, and then sometimes they exploit that. Like my little boy Percy, he's just so cute that even when he decides to do something wrong, it's hard to punish him. It's hard to do that because, you know, my wife, she's like, he doesn't understand what he did. And I said, he understands well enough. Now, I'm not over here beating him to death, but, you know, spray a water bottle at him or something like that when he does wrong, when he attacks one of the other cats, you know. You got to condition him away from that negative behavior. But anyway, guys, I have rambled on long enough about this. Check out We3 and all of Grant Morrison's work, Frank Quitely's work, Alan Moore's work, Neil Gaiman's work, whatever you want to read. Find something to read, enjoy it, and then come back here and we'll talk more comics next time. Take care and have a wonderful evening.